Hello, I'm Adrienne Gibson with Jaskiran Astrology, and I am here today on the full moon, which happens at 4:35 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm just gonna deliver to you um, my perception of what's going on in the stars. So, without further ado, this is the full moon in Capricorn. Um, like I said, 4:35 p.m. on the East Coast. So you can adjust for wherever you are in the world. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring up the chart and get started. All right. So we have a full moon in Capricorn, 8 degrees, 49 minutes will be the moon. And I'll go ahead and circle the cursor. The moon is in Capricorn and the sun is in Cancer. So let's see. Capricorn. Capricorn is about structure. It's about crystallizing or freezing the energy in a particular place, in a particular setting, just in a way, so that it is real, crystallized for a time. Anything that is crystallized will eventually dissolve. And Capricorn can represent governments and, governmental structures, the rules that we follow, the societal norms, for example. And when Pluto, the planet that is death and rebirth, that ends something and begins something new, because it is the planet of evolution, whenever it runs through a particular sign, it changes that sign and evolves it. So, Pluto through Capricorn between 2008 and November of last year was dissolving the structures that we have been living under. And along with that, have become this, like, when we align with the particular structure and it leaves, we are literally having to put the structure on the inside of ourselves. And so I think that's what this moon in Capricorn is about. We are on the new moon in Cancer a couple of weeks ago. We had Jupiter conjuncting the lunation, and that was an expansion of this emotional world. It's the emotions. So Capricorn is very often described as a masculine sign, but actually it is feminine in nature. It's a container. It is the container that holds our emotional field. And so with Capricorn, um, we can become rigid. We can learn to set boundaries to protect ourselves. And in this particular case, we are creating a container that can handle this larger emotional field. And the planet that rules Capricorn is Saturn. And Saturn is in Aries, 1 degree Aries, getting ready to move into 2 shortly. But it is essentially crystallizing a new sense of self. And while with this crystallization of a new sense of self, we are also crystallizing a new emotional field. We're holding our emotions in a very different way. So all of these planets, if you remember back to the early part of the year, all of the planets were traversing through Pisces. And Pisces, Neptune 12th house energy, is the energy of dissolution, dissolving the energy. So it's like it's the source of all energy. Everything is born from it and everything returns to it when it's finished its time. And um, and this goes for everything. Even mountains will eventually dissolve down. Um, and so while all the planets pass through Pisces, we were really dissolving the energies of those planets. And then they moved on. Um, Most of the planets now have moved on. You can see that Mercury is all the way up in Leo. It was the first to leave Pisces, and it is the first to reach Leo. Everything else is following. But when Mercury was in Aries, we were beginning a new mindset, a new way of seeing, and it was exploratory. When we're talking about Aries, it's very instinctual. It comes through from Pisces. So the energy in the Pisces archetype really comes through. It's unconscious. We don't have any boundaries around it yet, so we don't see what it really is. And so in Aries, everything is about discovering who we are. And Saturn coming through in Aries is crystallizing this new sense of self. But this new sense of self is very aligned to the Piscean energy. It's this new energy that's coming in where humanity and its individuals are really linked more with a Piscean energy. And I'll get into that a little bit more as we go on. Um, but I did want to point that out, that that's part of what is happening. Let's take a step back and look at Pluto. Pluto is the bottom line energy. It is the direction of evolution of each individual and of the collective, because they're really self and the same. They are two ends of a spectrum that are really the same thing. We're just looking at the extremes. And so Saturn, I mean, Pluto is in Aquarius, and it's been in Aquarius since the beginning of the year. And essentially, what we're doing is breaking free from any kind of constriction, any structures that have been holding us in a particular place, because we're moving on to something new. We're breaking out of that. This is the energy of Aquarius. It's the energy of individuation. We are becoming ourselves. And in this energy of Aquarius, we are also, Aquarius is known as the sign of brotherhood. And essentially, what that means is as we begin to individuate, we will begin to vibrate at a particular frequency that draws others of similar frequency towards us. So we will begin to align with others that feel and think and similarly to ourselves. And this way we can receive external validation with our internal validation, because Pluto in Aquarius has a polarity point, which is the direction of evolution in Leo. And Leo is about our authenticity and our individual purpose and our childlike nature. And it's being called the inner child, where we feel the most joy. And part of what's happened through the past, through really even longer than Pluto's in Capricorn, is that we've all been born into a particular structure, and different structures, different societies have different rules, Capricorn, that guide its people. And what happens is we are born into these, and we have to, in order to fit in, we have to smother parts of ourselves because they aren't acceptable. And this smothering of ourselves can lead to, yeah, self-hatred and really all kinds of things. But that's not the direction of what I want to talk about. I'll get into that more as we get into Scorpio. We've had a full moon in Scorpio here recently, and you can go back and look at my videos, and I'll talk a little bit more about that archetype. But basically, what I want to say is for the next 20 years, while Pluto traverses through Aquarius, we are going to be increasingly experiencing our authentic selves. We are shedding the layers of the past Capricorn and really beginning to come into who we truly are. Okay, that being said, this here, let's move on to Uranus, because Uranus is really the big talk of the town right now. Uranus is an outer planet. It moves very slowly. It has been in the sign of Taurus, where we have been breaking free from these external values that have been placed upon us. And it's now moved into Gemini here on the 7th, moved into Gemini. And this is the beginning of fracturing a perspective, a way of thinking and a way of communicating. Gemini is air. It's an air sign, and it's about thought. It's about intelligence. It's about gathering information about what our reality, what our immediate circumstances are about, and it's about communicating those perspectives. And because we've come from a place where we've been told what to think and how to behave, we are really coming into a place where we are breaking free from the mindset that we have carried with us for some time. The other thing that has happened is that Venus has also moved into Gemini. So Venus in Gemini is about one, it's about how we relate to ourselves and to other people. It's about our value structure. We are creating our own values. So when Venus moves into Gemini, we are really attuning to new information. This is signaling that the information that we have had is not suitable enough, and we are needing to attune to new information. So at the same time that Uranus is breaking apart our mind field, Venus is drawing into us, Taurian archetype, new information. And it's a very new conjunction between Venus and Uranus. So that's part of what's happening. The full moon, the sun is in Cancer, and the new moon was in Cancer, and Jupiter was conjunct the new moon. And this alerted us that we were going to be expanding the inner world. And I've been talking about this for some time. Like I said, you can go back and look at some of my previous videos, but our inner world is our emotional field. It's how we feel. It's where we feel safe and secure within ourselves. When things start to change, we can get a little bit anxious, but it's our ego self. It's where we keep ourselves safe. And with the expansion of that, I think that we are expanding our sense of um, intuition about this inner world. And so we began a new cycle of expanding our inner world. And I think that this is significant because the inner world is where our emotions are. And our emotions are linked to the heart. It's like this heart-mind connection. They're like two brains. We have the brain in our head and we have the brain in our heart. And they are different, but yet communicate with each other. I think that Uranus in Gemini is pointing to the fact that we have been totally led by our brains for a very long time. Brains are what's valued in our society. People that are the smartest make the most money. They get the best jobs. They, have more access to resources than people that don't have that level of intelligence that can guide humanity, for example, or science or whatever it is. And we're breaking that apart. And in our society, and I haven't done much traveling, so I don't know how it is in other societies, but I know that here, the emotional world has been sort of pushed aside, pushed down as not as important. And um, I think that, like, particularly for men, men are um, discouraged from showing their emotions and from even having. There are many men that I know that really since the 70s have been working on getting in touch with their emotional selves because they have them pushed down, and then when we push parts of ourselves down, they get projected out onto other people, sometimes violently. And our emotions are part of us. And with women, women, it's sort of held against us, demonized. Oh, women are hysterical. Oh, the word hysterectomy really comes from this energy of somehow women are overly emotional, so we're going to remove their uterus, their hormones that lead to that. So here's the shift of perspective that's coming. And it is about expanding what the purpose of our emotions are. Our emotions are part of the navigation system that we have. Um, Jeffrey Wolf Green, who taught evolutionary astrology, talks about Neptune in the way that it's this sort of internal guidance where he describes being in a boat, a rowboat in the middle of the ocean on a very foggy night where you can't see anything. And the question is, how do you navigate back towards shore? And you can't see, you can't use the eyes. And so the navigation system that you use is very internal. What is the internal navigation system? It is the heart and our feelings, our emotional world. How does it feel? I feel like we should go in this direction. While Uranus is in Gemini and breaking apart the external navigation, which is the Geminian, gathering information from our outer world, discerning it through the Virgo archetype, and determining, what information is pertinent, what information is not pertinent, and letting that be the guidance. That's been how we've been using Gemini for some time. And now Uranus comes through and is breaking that apart, probably so something else can come in. And I'm saying that that something else is another navigation. We're increasing our ability to guide ourselves because Pluto is now in Aquarius and we are individuating, which means we're not following what anybody is telling us to do. We have our own internal navigation center, which is the heart, and the heart is the seat of the emotions. And so, interestingly enough, Gemini, the planet that rules, Mercury, the planet that rules Gemini, is in Leo, the heart. Well, here the mind and the heart have come together. And this is what I believe this whole chart is telling us, that we are breaking out of a pattern of being led by the mind. I mean, in this day and age, it's very difficult to tell what's real and what's not real. We're being manipulated by news sources. We have AI that can generate pictures that look so real that they could show us something and we would believe it because we're seeing it. But in this day and age, we hope that everybody understands now that just because you see it does not make it the reality. You really have to be experiencing it to trust a nature that is true. Or we are coming online with this internal navigation system, the emotional realm. So I think that what I'd like to talk about are the nodes. So Pluto is guiding us to individuate and begin to come from our hearts, to be our true selves. We've got the two planets that are in Aries, Saturn and Neptune, and Saturn is crystallizing this energy, energy that has come from Neptune, because both planets just recently came from Neptune, and both planets will return to Neptune to gather a little more information in the near future. And then by 2026, both will meet together at the Aries point, the 0 point Aries, to begin a whole new cycle in February of 26. But what's happening is we're getting a taste. We're working slowly to crystallize a new sense of self. And this new sense of self has very Piscean energies associated with it. And what I mean by these Piscean energies, these are really quite emotional. Pisces is a water sign, so you know there's emotion associated with it, but these are like higher valued emotions. These are the emotions of acceptance, acceptance for all things, acceptance for all people, acceptance for really everything. Acceptance, we have compassion, we have forgiveness, we have universal love. These are the energies that we are moving into that are guided through the heart. And I do believe that this Saturn and Neptune are the beginning phases of exploring Aries, very instinctual exploring of where we can find that in our reality and how we can crystallize that. Let's move to the nodes. The nodes are the direction of emotional growth. This is how we become who we are. South node is the past sense of self. The moon is the current sense of self. And the north node is the future sense of self. And so this trajectory between the south node and the north node, which is an integration pattern, we don't actually lose where we've been. It will remain in our memory field, but we are evolving to a place of Piscean, seeing ourselves as part of a whole instead of seeing ourselves as separate. So the energy of Pisces and Virgo is about wholeness and separation. And we have been, South Node in Virgo, living and seeing ourselves, humanity has been for a long time, as separate, separate from the earth, separate from the animal world, and separate from each other. And what that's caused is a lot of disruption and violence. As soon as we can separate ourselves from one group of people to another group of people, we can begin to dehumanize them. And then, you know, we just are utterly atrocious humans. And Mars being in Virgo, coming to a closing phase conjunction, is saying that we are ending acting on this energy of separation, which is linked with that north node in Pisces. We are the beginning phases of moving in towards coming from a new sense of self. One, we're expanding our emotional field with the moon in Capricorn. Also Jupiter in Cancer. The sun is shining the light there, and we're creating a new expanded emotional structure. This expanded emotional structure is leaving behind the energy of separation and bringing online this energy of oneness, where we are all coming together as a human family on the earth with the family of all the other beings that live here, the oneness of this earth plane. And you know, we haven't done that. Nobody on earth has done that, at least at this time. There may have been cycles in the distant past where we have, but we can't know that for sure. But it seems that this is what's coming online right now. I don't know if there's anything more than I can say about this energy. I hope that this has been helpful for you. I think that individually, what we are doing is stepping into our true selves and allowing our emotions to express something about what's going on with our hearts, and giving us the opportunity to align our minds with that and to act upon that and to live from that place. Um, and really to step into our true selves. We are crystallizing somebody new. We can't continue to do the same old things at this time. Many of us that are feeling stuck, we're that stuck feeling is the inner sense of self. This is part of our emotional world telling us that things need to change. And when our bodies are telling us that things need to change, we need to figure out what those changes are and step toward that direction. So that's my 2 cents about this moon. You can see the detail that I've written about on my Substack account, and I will put the link in the comments below. And if you're ever interested in having me take a look at your birth chart, wherever these planets are lining up in your chart can give a good piece of information of what you're going through. And if life is confusing you at this time, and you need somebody to help you to sort it out, do reach out to me on my website, and I will put the link to that in the comments below. I hope you all have a wonderful full moon. It's at 4:35 p.m. on the East Coast, and some hour within that range in other parts of the world. And I hope you all have a blessed, peaceful day. Thank you for listening. Bye now.